Hello, everybody. Um, Welcome to the second episode of the series Next Lifestyle Changes. I can say good afternoon for somebody, but I have to say also good morning and good evening because we have people connected from Europe, from the States, and from Asia today. I'm Roberto Cuneo. I'm the founder of Medelhan, the Global Design Network. And I just play host now, and then I will leave a word to the speakers. As you know, Medelhan is the revolutionary platform that creates connection for the design industry. And we work with many of the most important players of the world. So we are very lucky for that, but we like to share this luck with our community. And so that's why we organize this series of international streaming, inviting some of the most important architects and designers of the world to share their vision of the sector and the new trend. And today we have a special guest, but I would like the moderator of the webinar to introduce them. So I will ask to Danilo Premoli to take the word. Danilo Premoli is a journalist, an architect, and the founder of the Office Observer, one of the most expert and important blog for the workplace in Italy. So, Danilo, it's you.
Oh, thank you. Good morning, good evening, or good day, and welcome to all. Nowadays, Workspace is the theme of this second webinar of Next Lifestyle Change. Workspace have been affected by recent pandemic, which has led their necessary rethinking. And to talk about this new way, or as they call this new normal, we discussed with two international design studios, two important design studios, Gensler, with Luca Maffey, architectural design director. No need to introduce, of course, and Carl Pickering and Claudio Lazzarini Pickering Architetti. No need to introduce them, of course. They are very famous for yacht design, but today will present a small urban scale in the intervention. Let's start with Lazzarini Pickering. And what prompted you to leave the safe harbor for a more intimate architectural intervention in a village in Umbria, in the art of Italy? It's up to you now.
Well, I think our office in Rome and our office in Milan, we work in lots of different fields. So not just nautical, just the nautical world, boats. We do urban master plans, buildings. We restructure historical buildings. So everything down to restaurants and boutiques and furniture. And we've even worked on a chocolate for one of our clients. So that multidisciplinary aspect of the office is something that is vital. It's part of the DNA of the office. So we're very excited about the theme today because there's no doubt that that it has brought enormous changes to one's lifestyle, and a lot of our reflections are also very personal. We have, lived above the shop. We have two lofts in Rome. One is the office, one is our house. So we are used to working used to working next to where we live. Our office also, with 60% of our work abroad, we're used to working remotely. So a number of elements of working remotely during lockdown, we've actually been working with for quite a while. So today's reflections are about a continuation of that effect that the period of lockdown and how that will change, or how it has changed our idea of working. We've decided to show a project that has gone through 3 different phases. It's a project that a client of ours has been working on for quite a while. It's the restructuring of a small village in Umbria, and we think that now we are reinterpreting it now for the post-COVID period, and where we are now used to working anywhere and working anytime. And so talking about the new barrier, not barriers, but let's say the new definition of this, we believe that being lucky to live in Italy could give new meanings to all the villages in Italy. And there's been a gradual depopulation of those areas. But we think now, with in the post-pandemic world, for a number of reasons, that it's an excellent chance for Italy and its future to reinterpret, those villages between Val d'Aosta, between the Alps and basically Sicily, so, and everything in between. So
can we start with the film, please?
Yes, sorry. Okay. So this is just a film of the presentation. It's you'll be able to see the Bramante church between the historical town of Ipswich.
Can you stop the music?
So I don't know. Yes, we can decrease the music. This is the site that you can see here. So on the top of the hill, it's a project about tradition, reinterpreting tradition, and so the deconstructing the elements of the traditional farmhouse in Italy and creating a 3rd millennium version. And you can see some of the details here. The element of the grills, these grills. That we took these bricks that are used in tobacco drying farms in Umbria. We've taken that element and we've created these new filigree screens around the houses. And so this project began as a resort, so divided into a number of rooms, etc. In different houses and in the main house of the village. It was then post 2008 was reinterpreted as a villa resort. So this is the form that it's in at the moment. And now with the post-pandemic world, it's now a place where to work and to enjoy nature and to be immersed in the landscape and the 33 hectares that surround the property. It's effectively the new lifestyle changes. We've all understood that we can work from anywhere, anytime. So why be in the cities when one can be in these sorts of extraordinary villages and areas of Italy.
Yeah, but wonderful spaces, I think, so that reconcile us with nature. But how are the spaces for work organized here in
Well, we have a traditional study there, which is where people can come together to work. So I think how we've all begun to work, we have different ways. There are moments in which we want to work with somebody else nearby. So we're talking as when we're not disturbing one another. So I think the important thing is to create different scenarios. So what we've done in these houses is that we've positioned lots of different workplaces, because they'll change during the time of the day, the light, even between the seasons. So in all of our projects now, we are interpreting also transitional spaces, also for the possibility to work there. The most important thing here is also being able to work outdoors and to be able to use the courtyards and the garden and the pool and all the outdoor spaces, the technological infrastructure that's necessary to to be able to Zoom or remote work and receive heavy files, etc. Be able to work on them, discuss them in teleconferencing, in remote work meetings. Here we can see the that private courtyard that contains a swimming pool. Here there's the reinterpretation of the spine wall. And so we have a number of spaces now where we have these tables where one can decide, and I think it's that choice of where one wants to work, whether alone or in company, is a vital element. I think here we've got a number of tables that one can decide where one wants to sit and use one's iPad or computer, etc. So here we've got the this is the bedroom.
Okay. We open the chat, and if some have a question for our actors at the end of the webinar, if we have time for a Q&A, there's a way to ask them something more. And now let's move to Atlanta to meet Luca Maffey of Gensler. You have designed the headquarters of dozens of multinationals around the world. And how will your space planning proposal change after the pandemic? Or maybe it's too late to draw up a guideline?
Well, thank you for inviting me to this panel. I'm really honored to be with Carl and Claudio, because I'm a big fan of their office. I'm a big fan of their design and the details, and we just saw some amazing details right there in the video. So thank you for sharing. Back to your question, I don't think that we have actually a recipe for the future. I don't think anybody does. We as a Gensler, we leverage our microorganism of the company that is present in more than 50 offices around the world, and we learn from our clients. And so learning from our clients allows us to define what the new trends are and what the new focuses are, and trying to find the roadmap that leads us to the post-COVID or post-pandemic office space. We do have a lot of research that we do in-house, but also that research has to be measured with the different kind of culture you meet. So I'll just share some few of the slides that represent that research. See if I can do this without losing anything. Should be here. So I hope everybody can see this. So what we're focusing on is our interest right now, and it's really just designing for, you know, these three factors: people, place, and technology. These are the three factors which are dominating the design and the scope of and the purpose of our concepts and our solutions for clients. And when we you know, obviously before you would do same thing, you would design for people and place, but the approach was different. I think before was more about the company and you know, the end number at the bottom of the spreadsheet, the balance sheet, and you would literally count how many people you can seat in an office space. Whereas today, an office is becoming more than just a building where to go to work. It's becoming a place where you can actually, you know, live in many different ways and find many different things that before you needed to go other places to find. In a way, you know, back to what Carl was showing earlier, office building, I feel like they're becoming like little castles. They offer so many different spaces, so many different things. So just to get into the detail of this, let's see if I can do this. You know, when we say we focus on place, you know, new types of places and spaces are starting to emerge as a demand from owners, as a demand from employees. And then we'll get into that. The sharing ratio, you know, earlier we talked about how certain cities are still building office spaces. And the reason is because we still need places to go to work and collaborate. And actually, you know, instead of counting desks, now you're counting seats, but those seats are spread among desks or other venues within the office building, because it's, you know, the whole design is based on the experience. In fact, you know, there's a shift from the desk-based activity to a more intentional spaces that are organized for specific function, yet keeping that flexibility for future configuration. The footprint of the buildings did not contract. Everybody was thinking that, you know, you will need less space because of the smart working, remote working. In reality, the spaces that you're creating are much more open. The distance between people is larger, and you'll need more space to accommodate those kind of experiences. And then, you know, which brings many, you know, very minimal change in the density of the offices. The other component we obviously focus on is people. You know, I think today, more than any other time in the past, we are focusing the design on the culture of the place that you're, you know, building your project. The office building is not just an efficiency exercise. It really has to reflect the culture of the place. And I think that makes it even more interesting. You know, an office in Italy would probably be very different than the one in New York, and just as much as different as, you know, would be from one in India. Because I think the culture of the place is now starting to be an ingredient of those designs that inform the space of the office. Obviously, we need to enable the work from home and flexibility, because a lot of people are not going to go into the office all the time. They're probably going to be in hybrid format of 3 days or 2 days a week. One thing that we learned through this pandemic is that this hybrid version kind of democratized the participation of people. You see a lot of people being more actively involved in meetings, because everybody is, you know, like today, we're all in our little square, and everybody has a voice, even by adding a chat. Whereas, you know, before probably people would not fit in the room. Some people would be out of a meeting simply because the room didn't fit them, or simply because they would not even engage because there were some other personal and physical limitations when you participate in meetings. So I think that kind of democratization that technology brings has to be brought into the new space. And, you know, the headcount growth is increasing, at least here in the States. There's a lot of demand for talent. There is a war on talent. Every company is trying to attract the best talent, and by doing that, they engage with you know, with us in different ways, and they ask us to bring in different kind of amenities and different ways of working, which are more agile, and they engage more with the latest generations. And then, really have a balance of options for people that want to work in the office and people that want to stay home. Like, maybe people that want to even join staying in a borgo in Italy, for example, and not having to be living in downtown Manhattan because it's busy. But you need to be able to do both. So that is really a key factor in all of the designs. And then obviously technology. I think technology today is really the basic ingredient that allows all of this changes to happen. You cannot have remote working or smart working if it's not supported by technology. We're doing this talk today supported by a great deal of technology, which a few years ago we had, but we were not as familiar with it as we are today. And even in the remote villages in Italy or wherever you want, you will need to have that kind of access to technology, which makes everything available to your hands. But this, on another hand, it becomes the new architectural barrier. We have to make sure that technology is included in every design, but really make it easy for different kind of generations within the office, within the employment, the staffing of a company to actually access that technology, because it has to be easy. It has to be something that it's as easy as turning on your TV, which you can do at a younger age or older age. So technology is developing with the design. We actually have a digital experience design division within Gensler that is always involved in every project we do, because it allows us to create those spaces that are supported by by a phone and organized and managed by a phone. So this is a very, very important component to the whole thing. I'm just going to show you just some basic projects that were recently completed. Some of these, the one that we're doing right now are still very confidential, and probably the latest. They're the ones that are responding even better to the latest trends. But arriving to the office is not anymore arriving to a reception desk, but it's arriving to an amenity place like this. This is the lobby of an office space here in Atlanta, and it's a bar, and everybody's using it, and they're public coming in, but you would never think this is an office space. Your presentation room is no longer 4 walls, but it becomes sort of a theater, and it's a flexible space that could be used for conversation, presentation, talks, even rented out by other communities. So the engagement with the people outside of the office is really important. Office buildings are becoming a place that is engaging the community rather than being locked from the community. And then internally, we're trying to create spaces that are different, that provide different point of views to generate and stimulate ideas. You might have, like an indoor courtyard, if you will, just created different experiences all around, or even just lunch experiences. This in particular is actually on the top of a podium of 8 floors. And so it becomes a restaurant that you would normally leave the building to go to, but this is within the office space. So that's why I say, office space is becoming kind of like castles with the terraces looking out onto the rest of the city. So all of these amenities are what are keeping the footprint of the building still large, and the distance between employees is larger, but all those seats now are counted as working seats. They're not counted as additional. So you don't need more space for it. It's just a transition from the desk activity to a different kind of experience. I wanted to include this because this is kind of a summary of how people in the different generation value the desk, the office. And we've done some projects recently in which the older generation reaches a status in which they are finally having a real estate that they can occupy, and they don't want to let go. But on the other hand, the demand is shifting, and some people, are freeing themselves up from being inside a fishbowl and engage with the rest of the employees. And so you see here how you know, the latest generation is really wanting to have different kind of activities within different kind of desks or working environment. And that reflects in spaces where you can actually work and relax at the same time, or you know, having collaboration, sharing ideas, kind of like you're in a some sort of a picnic, you know, talking about a project, but then next to it, you have a benching system, which anybody can occupy. You don't have to have a designated desk. People just book a position or and occupy it for the day that they're in the office, and then move on. And then you have, you know, spaces for focusing on deadlines or sharing ideas and in smaller teams, as well as, you know, the same spaces being flexible for different kind of operations. And then last, very important is, you know, the future of the office and the virtual reality, augmented reality, you know, and what are the spaces that define that, and how easy it is to utilize that, especially in our profession as architects. You know, we try to design something and share with the clients before we actually obviously build it, but drawings themselves are not easy for everybody to read. So we utilize a lot of this tools, but we need to make it comfortable, you know, comfortable for every generation. I remember the first time we showed a virtual reality to one of our clients. We had to sit him down because he was losing total cognition of orientation, and then the fact that he could actually fly up and down the building was disorienting, to say the least. And then just to summarize, these are some of the numbers. You know, everybody loves numbers, but this is just for tech companies. For example, sharing ratios, so workstation to head count. You know, it could be 1-to-1. But it could also be 1-to-1.5. So a desk could be shared by different people, because some people are traveling and you don't need so much space for desks which are empty all the times. Hybrid policy, days in the office, maybe it's only 3 days, maybe it's even less. So that creates you know, a shift in the use of the office, which is used at different times or is used by different teams in different ways. The density before and post-pandemic, it's depending on the company, it's increased, but not much change. I mean, it's increased, but it really depends how you read it, you know, with the amenities taking a large portion of it. And real estate portfolio is actually increasing, you know, instead of what we all expected, you know, kind of like going down because we can work from home. These offices are becoming a destination. And so the real estate portfolio is actually increasing in footprint, if you will. And then the openness. It is absolutely the #1 request to have indoor-outdoor activities, to be able to be outside and work from outside, even if it's just a temporary, you know, pavilion. But this has been a constant throughout, not just in tech companies, even law firms. Even insurance companies, they want to have an outdoor area where they can easily gather with the rest of the team and work. So I think this is the outdoor component is something that we'll see increasingly beneficial to the work environment. Long answer.
Okay. You have already answered about what you can imagine, new tools, digital tools, of course, or furnishing. I see a few desks and a lot of sofas, for instance. But I like to know your guideline about nature inside office, biophilic design, for instance, because if I work outside in the nature, I'd like to have nature also inside my space.
Yes, absolutely. In fact, biophilia is part of the design items that we definitely include, and I'll have other slides that show that. Definitely included into the overall design. The flow between outside and inside is absolutely one of the ingredients to the new office space. We all experienced working from home for over almost 2 years. how easy it is to be outside on a terrace, on a balcony, or even just in the garden for the lucky people that have gardens. But you can actually take a call and go for a walk. And I think this is really what we're seeing today is what, it was first experienced by higher education, by education. So generations stopped learning sitting at the desk. They needed to be moving around. The classroom were thought of in a different way. And the learning was, is structured in a different way. So that generation is now growing, and it's actually affecting how these offices are being designed. And that's a natural thing that you learn better when you are moving, when you are, if you walk, you actually generate more ideas. If you exchange activity with other people, you have a better way to memorize what you did and what you were doing, and you generate more ideas. So I think, this is it's an ancient way of working. Back to the Agora, people are moving around. There's a market, there's talking about laws. Adrian had a space just to go and walk and generate ideas in Adrian's villa. So I think we're simply rediscovering all that. The office, as it was intended before, it was really just kind of an extension of the production system that was observed in factories. And so people were actually, counted and put in desks and produce. Right now, production is not about sitting and doing something. Production is about really finding the best way to share and collaborate and generate ideas with other people. And obviously you need some focus time, which you will find, but it's not 100% that activity.
Okay, thank you. And now let's go back to Lazzarini Pickering. May I call you LNP, for instance, to go fast? How do relations with your client change with these new needs of the project, work-life balance, decency, safety?
Well, I think compliments to Luca for all the points they brought up that I found that we found fascinating and a fantastic sort of identikit of this very mobile moment in which we all find ourselves. I think the word mobility and the idea. Sorry. No, okay, you can hear me. Okay, sorry about that. As you can tell, we're sort of technologically challenged. I think, the word mobility and this moment of lack of definition, I think it's allowing people a very experimental attitude to their lives, which means, one important statistic is that of the use of boats. So we're talking about a luxury market, but we're talking, there's a boom in boats. So people who perhaps use their boat for 4 to 6 to 8 weeks a year, and now looking at, they have been using them for months and months and months. So we've had a number of clients who have come back after 4 months on board a boat, and the images that we showed of Umbria, which is a place designed, let's say, with a certain attention to detail and landscaping, etc. I think that is just an indication of something that is going between the luxury market, the whole market. Everybody is reinterpreting and analysing their lives, and the quality of life and the quality of work and how that integrates is something that we are all thinking about. So we're going back to the point about the villages, because there is a pressure in any city, but certainly in Italy, for the cost of urban property, real estate property. The idea of talking about the restructuring of villages in Italy was because you can't buy very much in an Italian city for 200,000 euros. You can buy something very interesting for 20,000 euros in a village, and I think there's that. So we're out of the, let's say, the luxury market of what we showed you in Umbria, but we are talking about reinterpreting those historical villages with a contemporary presence. So whether it's architectural, whether it's technological, whether it's the reinterpretation of former community spaces. So, are people still using libraries? Do those libraries in small towns become the new remote working space? So, there's this balance between wanting, as Luca said, the focusing. So there are moments in which I am, focusing on the strategy, or I'm producing, or giving form to those ideas that I found by walking or interacting with other people. And then there are moments in which I want to be alone. There are moments in which I also want to get out of the house. So whether it's a wife or a husband or whatever, being able to have a community space or to have a co-working space nearby, we believe is also going to help reinterpret those villages with a smart administration. So with the council that have the foresight to invest in this, and to also reinterpret spaces that might be public spaces, and to bring the technology to allow this balance that one can decide between what one decides to do at home and how one works at home when one wants to work at home, or if one wants to leave that space and to be involved in, or to be present with all the advantages and the energy of co-working spaces. So that extra view that one has of where one might be able to, where one might want to work.
Okay, and about your design, can we say that color, nature, and surfaces are new parameter of a project, together with flexibility, well-being you have said about?
I think well-being is the word that is the vital word, because of the fusion of the boundaries between work and, let's say, play, or one's private life and one's life at work. So during the lockdown, I think we all understood that we can work anywhere and we can work anytime. So I think that there's a dilation of time as well. We've been used to it because we live next to where we work. So we have seen how the length of a day can increase, not just in the sense of time, but what one can do and the synergy between living near where you work, and it allows one to enter into to balance better for us, for how we work and how we live. We've always found it that allows us to create better and to live better. So we've never worried about this. Let's say everybody imagines a necessary separation between work and life. Perhaps our work is our life. Perhaps our work is our play. We have lots of wonderful clients who allow us to play with them, doing some really interesting things. So I think going back to the well-being and the proximity to nature, or to landscapes, whether they are urban or natural landscapes that relax one, or let's say recharge one, in this moment in which time is very flexible, and perhaps the immediacy of areas that give well-being, and the most banal interpretation of that is the indoor-outdoor idea. But the idea of being in landscapes that recharge you, in that time that you might decide to do an hour's work, but being in somewhere that is beautiful, when you finish that, the recharging is immediate. And I think that's the point that we've been trying to bring about, in this idea of a new future for Italian villages, is this new contemporary meaning for history and living with history. And it can combine technology and it can combine contemporary architectural interventions.
Okay. I like very much this dialogue between a borgo and a metropoli.
Yes.
It's wonderful. Still in Atlanta now. There's a lot of talk now in the USA about great resignation after pandemic, after COVID. But what answer can office design answer for these problems? For instance, maybe from headquarter to hub-quarter, or even if heart-quarter. I like very much.
Right. Yeah, and I did prepare something to respond to that, which will be, I'll ask Roberto if we can show it in a minute. But before that, I wanted to say, are you going to start now? Okay, let's start now. Talk about it later. I don't know if you can hear the audio though. I don't think you can.
Confined by walls. It lives in the heart of your employees, wherever they are and whoever they are with. But culture needs a connected community, a place of diverse perspectives, where worlds collide, paths intersect, and ideas ignite. A workplace with heart. Wonder meets well-being. Physical and digital collide to create a healthy, personal, and vibrant space. One where everyone belongs. Fully connected, ready to collaborate, and set to uncover the next big idea. Inspiration meets interaction. Transform your space at the touch of a button. Big or small, quiet or loud, flexible to support all your needs. Outfitted and optimized, built for innovation and celebration. Trust meets team. Step into your neighborhood. An immersive space for co-creation, conversation, and focus. United as a collective, let's make our work matter. This is a workplace with heart, meeting people where they are, refreshed, refueled, and empowered to carry culture back into the world.
Yeah, that sums it up. I mean, and I'll share some, just 5 slides here that's to summarize all that. Let's see. Okay. So these are kind of like, the things that we're touching in this short video. I think that really summarizes how we're approaching the design right now. And back to your question, Danilo, is fighting that resignation, or the big resignation. The big resignation is nothing else than a recharge. I think there's a lot of people that have discovered a new way of life, have discovered that work and life can be the same thing if they enjoy what they're doing, if they're doing in a context that they like to do. So some people decided to take a different route, and some people decided to reinvest in their work. And what the companies are trying to do is to really invest on what are those aspects that made these 2 years very special for some people, to start questioning whether the work life is really what they wanted to do. Work life meaning in a static office. So what we see here is that the approach is definitely bring in the wellness that you have at your home, or the wellness that you experience in your neighborhood. Even adopting words like neighborhood. You're not going to the office, and the video showed it before. You're going to the neighborhood in the office. It's like offices is divided in neighborhood. And the idea is because that carries a meaning of people that are living in the same space that you're sharing with, and you're creating, and it's not a static thing, it's something that grows with you. So the neighborhood you're in, it's there to change with time, and you're part of that change. It has to be inclusive. A lot of people found themselves safe at home, but maybe they were not as safe in the workplace. And I think this opened up the eyes of many companies to say, this really needs to, the office space, it really needs to be more inclusive on different kind of levels, not just generational, but also obviously for race and gender. So it has to be very inclusive on all sorts of aspects. It has to celebrate people in all of their spectrum. It has to be intuitive, seamless connection from anywhere. We touched about on this before. It really has to be easy for people to either be remote working or in-place working. Back to what Carl was saying, I'm a big proponent of living in a small village and working from everywhere, but I've been used to traveling a lot all my life, and I know myself, I would like to be a nomad at all times and work around and go and just back to your question, Danilo, not have a headquarter anymore, but a hub quarter. And I think the concept of a hub quarter is more related to kind of like the organism of the aspen tree, in which every the aspen tree is one tree on a whole mountain. And I think Gensler is trying to implement this kind of a one firm policy and approach to everything we do, in which every office there isn't a headquarter, but it's like every office responds to a client needs, and they and the collaboration goes across the planet. We have London collaborating with us on projects. We're collaborating with Costa Rica and Brazil and China on some projects there in Africa. We all bring the best talents to respond to the client needs, and I think that is the future of organization, really to respond holistically to a design problem, to a strategy, to what a client needs, and bringing in the leverage of and the knowledge of every people, even if they are remotely connected with you. So you don't have to have a space to actually access those information. And then we touched a little bit about the amenities. Amenities are going crazy. We have we were discussing yesterday, there are some people that are coming into the office for maybe two days a week, and they would like to have a place for their children to maybe go with them, and they can study in the next door. So now the office space, which a corporation is thinking of accommodating a space for children that would come and spend a day maybe studying or an afternoon doing homework, because they now are bounded to their parents and they don't want to be home alone, or it's a just different kind of ask, and these things are evolving every day. I think we're trying to bring into the office space what we learned in these 2 years of pandemic. And then the expanded workplace ecosystem, office as a destination. Carl, I think, nailed it. I'm one of those people that I never think of work from 9 to 5. I actually start thinking about things in the middle of the night at any time, but because I love my job and because I like the process and the people I'm doing it with. But I think that if you provide that ecosystem and as an office, as a destination, you are always thinking about something, and then go to the office as a destination to then share with your team, or even just connecting with your team remotely. So these are the kind of 5 trends that we're looking at these days. You know, as the pandemic goes away and people rediscover a new life, I'm sure a lot of these trends will change and adapt. But that's the beauty of it. Otherwise, it will get boring. We have to change with the change.
Okay, but how will this new way of working transform cities? Here in Italy, we are talking about 15-minute city. Now, that's everything you need is far from you 15 minutes walking. And
right.
It's the same in the USA.
So,
50
you know what's...
minutes, or for you, it's 30 minutes.
You know, it's funny. It's that, you know, the big difference I noticed when I moved here first from Rome. So imagine from Rome to Atlanta is a very big change. But I was noticing, and I was asking people, you know, where do you meet people? I mean, can you just go for a walk somewhere, you know? But obviously a walk in the city, not just a walk. New York is like its own world. Atlanta is very different. New York is I think it's like a planet on itself and has everything that you can dream of in terms of city. But Atlanta it's zoned like many American cities. You know, there is a working area, there is a residential area, there is an entertainment area, there is a museum area, and what happens when you do that? You have moments in which these areas are alive and then moments in which they're dead. And coming from Rome and center of Rome, where everything is integrated, you could have an office and a residential and the entertainment, it's all mixed. It is very interesting what is happening now because the pandemic forced people to stay home and they discovered their neighborhoods. And some little restaurants started popping up to serve the immediate need of these people that couldn't go anywhere, but they were able to walk to a restaurant or to and order food to bring home, or you know, different shops, because now the retail knows that they have people there. The eyes on their products are right there. They're not going to go anywhere. They're going to walk around the neighborhood to, you know, take a break from work and discover, you know, what's within the 15 minutes. So that generated a new product which I've seen around town here, and then not only here in Atlanta, but in other cities, in which we basically, you have your office at the ground floor and your house right on top, which is the old medieval way of organizing a city. And so you're going back. So we did all of this to go back and rediscover that you don't have to necessarily go far to engage with the community and do something good for the community. You can stay where you are and work within the community and still be remote to the hub quarter, as we called it earlier, to, you know, be part of a bigger organization. So I think, again, technology allows us to do that today and allows us to live in the Borgos in Italy, and really, like Carl said, it would be a new beginning for a lot of Italian villages which have been abandoned throughout the years, unfortunately. And I have experienced some of my friends moving to Sicily from December to March because they're going to work from Sicily with their company here in the States. Mm-hmm. And so doing exactly what you were saying, supported by technology and a space that they can work in.
Okay. Return to Lazzarini Pickering. Luca said about information technology, the role of information technology in this diffused office. It's very important, of course, also in Borgo, city, and so on. But how to protect, in this way, our privacy, because is one of the most important things ECT this way.
Well, regarding technological privacy, being technologically challenged, I'm probably the worst person to talk about that. But if one, I think the transformability of spaces, I think, is now, it's always been an important leitmotif in our work. And now with houses and apartments now needing parts that can be closed off and opened up, so one has the life of the family, carrying out, and then integrating the possibility that there are different corners for different people to be able to work. We always quote the example of one of during the lockdown and working with our assistants. It was a great way to see their life and to see. So we felt very much part of their lives. We had one assistant who was in the laundry, and we followed all of his drying and washing machine cycles that was in the background of his screen. So apart from kids, cats, dogs, etc., entering into that world, we felt very privileged. And in that moment in which perhaps people felt isolated, the backgrounds were quite often very important. I think now technology has now allowed our assistants have their backgrounds that they desire. So anybody can walk behind them, or they can decide to be in the Maldives, to have a background in the Maldives or one of our projects or whatever background they want. So that's given a new sort of anonymity, but in some sort of way is the same sort of portrait. Your background is however part of your portrait. So I think the privacy in the work, for example, in a real estate project that we're doing in Milan at the moment, the two changes to the integration into the design of the apartment is these transformable spaces that allow the creation of different niches that offer individual privacy. And that's something that in our work in boats and in apartments has always been important, the sort of functional and spatial transformability. But we're now going back to that being a vital element of the projects. And in the project that we're doing in Milan also, Luca's very, in a fantastic way, has given us possible roadmaps of how office design is going to change as well. But there's no doubt that there's an enormous influence on residential design. So within the house, within the apartment, as I said, this idea of opening and closing and how one can create these different degrees of privacy and intimacy. But also in the real estate project we're doing in Milan, there's now a co-working space that there wasn't in the project of, it's the restructuring of a building in Milan as apartments. But now there is a co-working space that is now considered a vital element of the success of any real estate project in Milan, and that to us is a very exciting development. So this blurring of definitions, which in our multidisciplinary nature of our office is what we're specialized in. We've always loved going from one discipline to the other, and grafting and superimposing typologies and the specific natures of disciplines. It's a very fluid, fantastic, interesting world, and it's filtering through, in lots of different ways, and we have to deal with it at lots of different scales and lots of different ways, and it's keeping us on our toes. I think that's it really is a source of new inspiration.
Okay. Luca, may I ask you, how can you imagine next office in the so-called metaverse?
Well, first I want to say, Carl, actually, the amenity of co-working spaces is becoming a trend here too. Like, you know, residential buildings, and we're offering as an amenity. Real estate developers are looking at it and they're thinking, yeah, this is a better use, because, you know, you can keep everything integrated within the same building, which we know will reduce traffic, and, you know, it's ultimately better for the city at a, you know, big picture. So I'm actually happy that's happening also in Milan, because I think it decongests the traffic, especially that we have in Milan, going from one building to another just to work. Back to your question, Danilo. I think you know, I've always been how do you say, attracted by the metaverse. You know, back to the movie Matrix almost 20 some years ago. You know, when that came out, I was like, oh my gosh, they're not gonna need architects anymore because everything is going to be virtual, obviously, and, you know, luckily or unluckily, depending on which way you see it, the Earth is not developing all of the same way, and so you will have a lot of parts in the planet which are far from being, you know, developed to the metaverse, and then you'll have other parts of the planet which are adopting augmented reality and VR for all they do. I think right now and for a while we'll see this transition. There's a lot of good things about using you know, an alternative reality, let's call it, to go to work, or to actually appear, or to even introduce yourself to other people. There's people that are very introvert. But they will feel more free to be whoever they are, whoever they want to be in the metaverse. But at the same time, I hope that it's not going to be the office space in the metaverse. I hope it's not going to be a reproduction of what we have today here, because it allows you to be really free of whatever you want to be. You know, you can design it however you want to design it. You can even fly within the metaverse. You don't have to go up the stairs. But all of that is going to be a learning experience for our physical bodies to actually adjust and perceive the reality in a different way. I know we're going to, you know, uncharted territories here, but if you think about it, just as a very simple example, when we show augmented reality to some of our clients, in which, you know, we give them the goggles and they can move around the space, and they can move around, and they can even fly from one floor to the other, a lot of them are not used to that kind of perception of the space. They're not used to be able to do that. They're not used to move like that, and so most of the times we have to sit them down. So there is a learning curve that a lot of people will have to go through, but at the same time, it could be liberating. It could be something that you literally could be anywhere and with people at the same time. I don't know what that's going to be, what's going to look like, because even when you are with people, it's going to be virtual. So I don't know. There's many movies that have been done. You know, I'm thinking about Inception and, you know, other ones that speak about that. But it's definitely interesting evolution of the office space and other, you know, even residential, even events. You don't have to go to a theater. You can just wear your goggles, be in a hall, and experience an opera. But it's a little scary to think about that. I mean, part of the going to the opera is, you know, enjoying the walk to that opera and meeting people and going up the stage. You know, I don't know. We'll see.
Okay. Last question for you all. What is the most important thing that impact the future of office for you? Climate, economy, technology, or free, or something new? Lazzarini?
Luca? Well, I think there's no doubt that certainly sustainability is a vital and incredibly important issue, which just connects to well-being in general. So I think that is I think they're the two the two elements that need to guide our thinking.
Okay.
The well-being of who we're designing for.
Claudio, tu volevi aggiungere qualcosa? Something to... Claudio?
No, grazie.
Okay.
Sulla domanda più difficile, no, grazie. Luca?
Well, I think that, sustainability is definitely a must, right? We need to be very, it's our responsibility as architects to be proponent of sustainability and well-being, and as a key tool, a key way of planning and designing. It cannot be an option that developers choose to go for or not. So actually, at Gensler, we are we signed the 2030 agreement. We are doing all we can to start with sustainability approach to every project, and then take it out as the budget limits are unfortunately our design. But we start with all the options that we can. I think that is the most important thing, and then propose those to the developers. And then obviously economics is a big factor. We always have to be cautious about the budget, and then this is a really important piece, at least to us, because as designers and in this industry, and the developments and real estate, our gestures, our choices, our decisions generate work for thousands of people, and we have to be very responsible on deciding how to design in order to keep a project alive. And how you keep a project alive is also be very cautious of the budget and the investment that is done to be, to do that project. It's not just about art. It's not just about design. It's not just about aesthetic. We are responsible with the stroke of a pencil sometimes on the life and the well-being of a lot of people. So keeping a project alive and being in budget, it's an act of sustainability, in my opinion, because it brings work to a lot of people, a lot of families. So I guess that's one of the key elements I would focus on.
Danilo, it might be just interesting to let the community know. Sustainability for our clients, and I'm talking about important residential projects, private residential projects, sustainability, I mean, all of our projects are positive. So they are, regarding the carbon footprint, it has become, for our clients, it has become vital, and it allows us to integrate. I mean, it's always been an important element of our work, but now we are able to really work with systems, amazing systems, and and integrate those into the architecture. It's not a clip-on, but they become part of the design from the first lines on the piece of paper, and it's become a vital parameter for all of our clients, and including the budget. They are there, and an important part of the budget does go to those systems, and it's something that we don't need to convince anybody. I think that's the message that I'm trying to communicate, that it is now, it's in our client base, it is now something that has been for a number of years, is absolutely vital, and is creating the projects.
That's great. It's great to hear.
Okay, Roberto. Okay, no question in chat, so we can.
Yeah, I think
close here.
Yeah, so we're at the end, a little bit over the scheduled time, but I think that we heard very interesting insights for our guests today. So I would like to thank our guests, Lazzarini Pickering Architects, Gensler and Luca Maffey, and you, Danilo. I don't know if you want to.
Pleasure.
If you want to say something else to our attendees, I just remind to everybody that this episode, as well as all the other episodes, are available, and this one will be available on Medelhan.com in a couple of days, and stay up to date for the next international streamings of 2022.
Okay.
Thank you for the invitation.
Thank you.
Okay. See you soon in person, and thank you so much, and see you. Bye bye.
So long.
Bye.
Bye bye.
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 Bye. Bye. Thanks.